Hi, my name is Angel, and welcome to an Angel Can't Read Thanksgiving special. So, Thanksgiving has never really been my favorite holiday. Obviously, in the US, it represents a history that's not so great, but it also was always a holiday that, as a kid, I just associated with having to do a bunch of work. So, growing into adulthood, it just kind of became a holiday that I didn't really care too much about. But today, I'm mixing things up this year, trying to be a little bit fun and festive, and what better way to be fun and festive for Thanksgiving than to read a silly little Thanksgiving sentient object romance book. So this is the book I will be reading. I have it on my Kindle. It is called Basted, and this is by Abby Hunter. And as far as I know, this is about sentient turkey basters and a woman that they fall in love with, I guess. I'm expecting this to be a little bit crazy, a little bit unhinged, and I'm looking forward to it just being the perfect way to start off my Thanksgiving before I start cooking. So grab a drink, grab a snack, grab a comfy little blanket, and get tucked in because you are coming on this ride with me. I'm going to be telling you my thoughts about this book every step of the way. First things first, let's get started with chapter 1. So in chapter 1, we get introduced to our main character, who we still don't quite know her name, but we start off the book with it being Thanksgiving Day, which is her 2-year anniversary with her boyfriend. So he is a chef and he really loves food, so she decides to dress up as a turkey to, I don't know, be fun and sexy for Thanksgiving, and she goes to the restaurant that he works at to surprise him after his shift and take him home so they can, quote, fuck all night. But she gets there and things are immediately weird. The lights are out, there's nobody really around, and she walks inside and hears moaning. So of course, she comes to find her boyfriend having sex with the hostess of this restaurant, who he seems to be involved with for a long time because of the way that they speak together, and they quickly say, after they finish having sex, let's go home, so clearly indicating there's a little bit more to their relationship, and the two leave hand in hand with our main character watching the whole time. They just don't notice her because she's kind of hiding in the kitchen. So now she's feeling very down about herself, obviously a little bit heartbroken after seeing this, and we are starting chapter 2. So chapter 2 is where things start to get a little bit unhinged. Our main character, who we still don't know her name, she has decided to stay in the restaurant after her boyfriend has left with the other woman. She's obviously very heartbroken, and she just doesn't want to go back to their apartment that they share together and see all of their things there. And just get reminded of the Thanksgiving feast that never was. So she is sitting in this restaurant crying at the counter, and she looks up and she sees all of these trays of food that were left there by the restaurant staff, including 3 trays of meat. And she is immediately like, I need to eat this. However, when she looks at the meat, she says it looks a little bit dry. So she notices there is a turkey baster sitting next to it that is full of liquid. She says the turkey baster was at least 11 inches long, its tip stretching past my elbow. The bulb fit perfectly in my palm with a thick nozzle to spurt juices all over the bird. So she first takes the turkey baster and starts to spread the juices onto the meat because she wants to eat it, and she finds this very erotic. She finds that as soon as she picks up the turkey baster to squeeze it, that she starts to get all tingly in all places of her body, and she's not sure why that's happening, but as she is watching the juices come out of this turkey baster, that sensation amplifies. So of course, as she is squeezing these juices on the turkey, the juice gets a little bit crazy and it squirts out, and what do you know, goes right onto her cleavage and seeps down into her bra. At this point, the sensation she's feeling is just overwhelming, and she just needs to taste these juices. And so of course she does it with her fingers, gets a little bit from her chest, and starts to eat it, and it is the best thing that she's ever eaten. So she thinks, well, why not just put the entire turkey baster in my mouth and squeeze those juices into me? I gasped in shock at the intensity of the flavor. The longer the thick juices swam around my tongue, the more my body curved in response. With lips tight around the nozzle, I pressed the bulb harder, craving the fast rush of meaty juices. And she starts to feel so good that her hands just need to explore other parts of her body. Okay, so you can picture what she's doing, right? And the chapter ends with her pushing the turkey baster deeper into her mouth because she wants to take more of the juices, and then she hears a voice. "That's it, little bird. Take me deeper." A low, hungry male voice echoed through my mind. I gasped at the sound, but my complete confusion washed away as my blank spasmed with need. I think that was a good spot to end off with chapter 2. And now we are going into chapter 3, where I guess we will get to learn a little bit more about our turkey baster friend. Hopefully we get a main character's name at some point. Let me know down below what your drink of the day is. Today, this isn't the most festive for the holiday, but this is what I'm starting with. It is La Colombe Coffee Workshop. It is a vanilla cold brew with oat milk. I've never had this before. I got it at the gas station very late last night. So let's crack into it and hope it's good. So chapter 3 was a shorter one, but we did get some important pieces of information. So first, we have our main character who finally asks, "Who are you? What is happening? How am I hearing this voice right now?" And we get an answer from Mr. Turkey Baster. He says, "I'm Master Baster, but you will call me Master. And the two basters right in front of you are my brothers Pip and Jet." And so she looks and she sees another turkey baster that is as big as the one she's currently using, but a different color. And then there is another differently colored, smaller turkey baster. And they tell her, "We've heard your wish for your Thanksgiving to be special, and we're here to provide. You are the perfect woman for us." And then we learn our main character's name, which is Hazel. They say, "We've seen how your boyfriend has treated you, Hazel. We're here to make your Thanksgiving dreams come true." So, this erotic scene with her sucking the turkey baster continues. She is still touching herself on different parts of her body. And now all three of these turkey basters are speaking to her in her mind. The chapter ends with the turkey baster and Hazel both climaxing at the same time. "He was so far inside me that I couldn't make a sound. He kept pouring and pouring until I was spluttering and gagging. I was sure my stomach would overflow with his juices, and I was so grateful to be stuffed this Thanksgiving." Now we are on to chapter 4. So chapter 4 brought some revelations. First of all, I need to point out that I knew this was a sentient object romance, but I'm just noticing that in the subtitle for the book, it says it is a sentient object monster romance. And now I'm understanding, because there's a little bit more to this turkey baster situation. So Hazel, overcome by how good it feels to have the turkey baster in her mouth, after, the last chapter they finished, she puts the baster down and she hears the three of them telling her to get undressed. So she does so, and she wants to feel Master Baster in a different part of her body. So things lead to that. And as she is using her hand to guide the baster where it needs to go, she starts to feel a sensation that almost feels like a phantom hand pushing her hand and moving the baster itself. And she goes, "Is that your hand?" And Master responds to her and says, "You can feel me, can't you? It's one of my tendrils. As soon as I get stronger, I'll touch you as much as you like." So, as she continues to have the baster inside of her, she asks him, "What's happening? Why does it feel so good?" To which Master informs her, "You're feeding us. The more we pleasure you, the easier it is for us to take form. Each time you moan for us, it makes us stronger. That's why it's our job to make you come, Hazel. We want you to feel amazing so you can receive all our juices. We've been waiting for a woman like you for so long. Someone with an appetite big enough to handle us." And the chapter ends with Master dropping this bomb on her. "You're the perfect woman to carry our children," Master said as he thrust inside me again. So we're getting a little bit more pieces to the story, and we are now starting chapter 5. Let me know down below what your plans for Thanksgiving are. I guess probably Thanksgiving is coming to a close by the time this video is being posted, but let me know what you did today. Me personally, it's just my boyfriend and I. We don't have family or friends that we're seeing this year, but we don't eat meat, so we did end up finding 2 different vegetarian vegan holiday roasts, both by brands that I've never seen do a holiday roast before, so I'm pretty excited. We are also making mashed potatoes and gravy and some stuffing and an apple pie, so I am definitely looking forward to that. Let me know down below how your Thanksgiving went or is going. So in chapter 5, the same scene continues. Then we have Hazel asking, "What do you mean, your children?" And the Basters respond, "We told you you're the only woman for us. Your body is so fine that we know you can carry our meaty babies. We'll stuff you so full that you'll be brimming with our juices." Master really was getting stronger. The thick tendril around his baster was growing more solid. And they say, "We need to tenderize your blank so you're nice and soft and can absorb all our juices." So the other basters are now getting involved with this act. So our main character is leaning over a counter while other things are happening, and there are still all of these pans of food, and she wants to taste more of the juices. So she ends up accidentally tipping one of the pans over, and the whole counter floods with the juices from the baster named Jet, and it just tastes so incredible. And Jet's like, "Yeah, you want to taste me," and he, with his invisible tendril, shoves her face in the juice and she starts lapping it up. He tells her, "Lick it up, pretty chick. You need to learn what I taste like too." One pet peeve so far is that Jet keeps calling her pretty chick, and I just don't like that nickname. Anyways, she is sucking up all of the juices off of the counter. She says, "I spluttered and choked as I swallowed, but I was suffocating in juices and desire. I was dying to be filled in every single way." And that's fine, because the basters inform her that they need to put as much juices inside of her as possible, and that they need her leaking from every hole. And so, you know, what better way to accomplish this than Master telling her, "Hold me against your cervix." I would just like to say that sounds a little bit painful. And then it gets a little bit crazier, because when Master is inside of her, she said that she can feel the tendril there, and it's expanding with the baster and stretching a certain muscle in her body. And she says it was stretching her further than she ever thought possible. It had to be at least 4 inches wide now. 4 inches wide. Let that sit with you for a second. But she is still overcome with desire. She says, "I want your babies. Give me more. Let me have your babies." As this is happening, she catches sight of herself in a reflection of one of the pans. She says, patches of meaty fluid coated my skin. It was the sexiest thing I'd ever done. I'd been completely ruined by these surprisingly well-endowed utensils, and I absolutely loved it. So it's getting a little bit crazier. All of the basters are getting involved, and they are all getting a little bit more strong and, I don't know, more alive. Now we are moving on to chapter 6. Chapter 6 begins with Hazel having a little bit difficulty walking after all of the sensations she has been through. So the basters join together with their imaginary tendrils and they help her onto the counter, and they place her flat on her back and strung her up like the Thanksgiving turkey I'd attempted to copy. But this felt 100 times sexier. We get a little bit more information about the basters and their sentience. She says, how are you doing this? The more you feed us, the easier it is for us to move around. We've never had a real shape before. We've desired nothing so strongly that would make us want to be more than kitchen basters. That's because of you, Hazel. That's how amazing you are. They tell her that they had been waiting for her, and then we find out that they have been watching her every time she comes to the restaurant. They say, we never thought we'd actually get to talk to you. I'm so glad I can finally touch you. We've seen you coming and going. We usually hang on the wall behind us, and we're only brought out on special occasions. All we've been able to do is watch you and hope we'd have the chance to be with you. We knew as soon as we saw you that you'd be able to handle our juices. And she is handling those juices. She has so much juices inside of her that she says that her stomach was so full that it had swollen slightly. She also apparently is so full of juices that she can hear the sound of Master's juices sloshing around inside her womb. I'm not really sure how accurate that is, but I mean, nothing in this book is supposed to be realistic. So she finally gets to taste the juice from Pip, who is the small turkey baster this time, and then Jet, the other large turkey baster, gets to go inside of her. They ask her, are you ready to be spit roasted like a proper bird? And of course, she is lying there on her back like a Thanksgiving turkey, and she says, from my position on my back, his juices could flow naturally up my womb. I shuddered happily at the idea that they would completely fill me, ensuring that I really would become pregnant. Now we are on to chapter 7, and we have, I think, slightly less than 20 pages left in the book. In chapter 7, Hazel and the 3 basters continue their acts of pleasure, and one of them has some juices that he is letting drip onto her chest, and he says, these special juices are just for you. They'll make your breasts swell so you can feed our babies, which we then learn it won't be milk or juices pouring out of your blank when you feed our babies. It will be cream sauce. Hazel responds, I didn't think words like those would turn me on, but my blank clenched around Jet's wide nozzle as he surged into me again. One of the basters, as they are continuing their act, says, look at how round and swollen your belly is. It's like you're already carrying our children. To which Hazel looks down at her body and says, it was like a hill had formed on my body. Instead of the thick curves of jiggling flesh I was used to, my belly was totally engorged. It was stretched so tightly that I could see paths of veins crisscrossing over translucent skin. There was so much juice filling my stomach and womb that it was like I'd swallowed a soccer ball, which, in my opinion, would be a little bit concerning. But Miss Girl she's having the time of her life, okay? And they want to continue to give her their juices. And she's like, can I take any more juices? Look at me. And they said, well, we can keep filling you until you pop, Or maybe you'll just absorb it all and be a meaty feast for us to devour. And Hazel, she kind of has a moment of clarity where she says, if I wasn't so sexed up, maybe I would question it. But she's just overcome with pleasure, as we've already determined, so she doesn't really worry about it. And instead she starts to worry about, oh my gosh, I want to ask these basters to come home with me after tonight, and I don't know if they're going to. So she works up the courage to ask, will you come home with me? You don't want to stay here? And of course they're like, did you think we were going to leave you? Of course we're coming home with you, and there is no way you're having our children without us. Things continue. The basters then take their tendrils and begin to touch their own basters so that they can produce more juices to put on top of Hazel. And after the juices come out, she says, I sighed happily, spread out like a turkey in the oven, slathered in the juices of my basters. And that is how chapter 7 ends. We are now moving on to the last chapter, which is chapter 8. Before we get into chapter 8, let me know down below, what is your Thanksgiving weather wherever you are that you live. You guys know that I live in Minnesota, and we got our first snow, I think it was 2 days ago, so it's currently pretty snowy outside, just a couple of inches, and it's a little bit chilly, so we are having a white Thanksgiving this year. Let me know, do you guys have snow where you are? Is it cold? Is it hot? What's the vibe for your Thanksgiving? In chapter 8, they are ending their night of fun at the restaurant. Hazel reflects on this, saying, there was so much inside me, I was sure my swollen stomach was pressing against my lungs. I wheezed with each breath. Effing them was a total workout, and I couldn't even remember the last time I'd done so much exercise. Each time I inhaled, I was sure I was going to explode. They inform her that Pip, the smaller baster, needs to be fully inside of Hazel so that he can plug her up. And they say, if we do it tonight, the magic of our meeting can be preserved. If I stay inside you, I can keep pumping you full of our juices until I know that you're pregnant. And so, of course, she puts Pip in there, and he enjoys it, and he says, no wonder my brothers think this is the perfect home for our juices. You'll keep us at the perfect temperature to have our babies. So essentially, it's 3 a.m., she realizes, and she's like, okay, we should probably get out of here. And so she says to get a little bit of revenge on her ex. She knows that he's gonna have to come in to clean up the kitchen, so she leaves all of the juices there. And she's like, maybe he'll know what I was up to. So she takes all 3 of the basters home with her, where they spend days making love, and they grew stronger with every hour that passed, until we woke up in bed on the first day of December with their tendrils wrapped around me, my belly full of their juices, and 3 children forming in my womb. Then comes the epilogue, which takes place 1 year later, where she is living happily with her baster lovers. The more time they spent together, the stronger their essence grew, and all I could see now were sex gods with their juicy tendrils and their patient love. So they have become kind of fully formed, where they can move freely throughout the house, do things like cook meals and clean, and basically they appear the color of their baster, and they can kind of create whatever form they want, but most often they create the outline of a human when they are at home. Their basters hovered inside them, pumping juices to keep their bodies solid. They only ever brought them out when we were making love. And then, of course, we learn that 3 months prior to the epilogue, she gave birth at home to 3 beautiful, meaty babies. One is a boy with turkey-colored skin, and then we have another boy with pink skin, and a little girl who is a red wine colored, which are the 3 colors of the juices of the different basters. And she is just basically reflecting on her life and how things have changed. It was a joy to wake up each morning surrounded by my loving basters and cuddling our children. I had to bathe them in cream sauce each morning to make sure they stayed fresh. Every floor, wall, and surface had to be tile, plastic, or linoleum so we could clear up all the juices. And basically, moral of the story is that they lived happily ever after. Something else that I wanted to touch on is that I feel like, you know, it's a little bit crazy and it's definitely not for me, but Hazel is living her best life, and the whole experience really throughout the book is very cathartic for her. She is, we learn from the beginning, she is a little bit plus size and has always been insecure about that, and her ex-boyfriend used to give her shit for the way that she would eat and sometimes the way that she would look. So when she has these turkey basters here that just love everything about her, it is a very healing experience in a lot of ways. So she learns a lot about herself. Drinking from the nozzle of one of the basters made her realize that her ex-boyfriend had never known what she needed. Throughout the whole experience at the kitchen that night, she just feels like loved and wanted and cared for. She said, "I couldn't remember the last time I felt this sexy. Right there in the light reflected off the metal surfaces of the kitchen, I felt like the most gorgeous woman in the world." She feels like she can really be herself around them. "Whenever I was with my ex, I had to pretend not to want to eat more than the portion he served me. I had to hide any sugary foods from him, go on all these different diets to fit into clothes I didn't even like. As I drank the light gravy from the ham, I realized it was the freest I'd been for years." And in conclusion, the basters just make her feel so happy. It was as if these basters knew exactly what I'd been waiting to hear my whole life. With the 3 of them curled around me, it felt like it was the first time I'd been loved properly for years. And I'm just going to leave it there. So in conclusion, you know, good for her. Good for her. This was just about everything that I expected it to be, and kind of fun, and also oddly does put me in the holiday spirit, ready for Thanksgiving. But luckily I'm not making a turkey because I feel like I'd be a little bit traumatized. I don't really have any profound words of wisdom or a full review to give you guys for this book. I'm probably not going to rate this. I don't even know if I'm going to put this on my Goodreads, but it was a fun little experience. Thank you guys for coming along on this ride with me. Hopefully it was entertaining. And lastly, let's leave off with some positivity. Of course, it is Thanksgiving. You have to go around the table and say, what is everyone thankful for? So let me know in the comments, what are you thankful for this year? Me personally, I'm thankful for a little bit of everything. I mean, I'm thankful for my boyfriend and my cats and my family. I am thankful to have all of these books and a lovely place to live, to be healthy and happy and be able to afford basic necessities. All things I'm very thankful for. Thankful for every day that I wake up and I'm still alive. And I am also very thankful for each and every one of you that has ever watched any of my channels, subscribed to me, liked any of my videos, commented on anything. I do appreciate it. It means a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you next time.